So I just got back from seeing Sonic Movie 2, and oh my gosh, that was a movie that was honestly, in all honesty, that was a delight all the way through. Now, one thing in particular, how I felt about the first Sonic movie was that it felt very safe. Honestly, I felt like I couldn't question any route they took in that movie just because they wanted to make sure they got it right. And I feel like that was a necessary stepping stone for what was to come, because Sonic 2 not only goes above and beyond everything Sonic 1 did, but it also takes what it did and sets up even further beyond it. And I love this movie. One thing in particular, I made sure I spoke with my brother because we had saw the movie, that you can truly tell that the hands behind this movie truly love Sonic. They love Sonic, and I could see it everywhere. The SA2 on this vehicle, the Sonic doing the adventure pose from SA1, when he's in the dance off, Of course, the movie has its flaws. I'm not going to sit up here and act like it doesn't have flaws, but I feel like the flaws of the movie don't take away at all from the greater achievement this movie tried to be. And in the end, I think I can confidently say this is the best video game movie there is. I can't think of anything that does it better than this, because it's not trying to be a video game movie. It's trying to be a Sonic movie. And I love that about this film. Everybody played their parts right. I know some, other people, some critics are saying they wish the humans played a more prevalent role. But the thing is, I feel like adding or taking away from anything anyone was doing in this movie would have been misplaced, in my personal opinion. Like, say, the human characters, let's get that out of the way, because that's something I did see from the critics. I don't think that the humans were any more prominent than they should have been. Again, the main cast, of Tom and his wife being away because obviously the wedding for her sister, that makes sense. Of course, they're going to be away when the big gist of stuff that was going on. And of course, they were there to back Sonic up when he needed a ring to actually go and get away from the avalanche that was going to go and kill him and Tails. So they played their parts quite right. When Sonic, Tails, and Tom ended up getting, captured by Gunn, yes, because Gunn was in the movie, it was, Tom's wife that actually ended up saving them, each one of them played their parts. And I honestly think they really played their parts well. This movie wasn't about them, just like the first movie wasn't about them. They were vessels in which like in the first movie, they were vessels in which Sonic was going to achieve the main goal of the film. And the second movie was very, very similar. I feel like even more than the first movie, this movie focused more on Sonic. And the thing about that is they weren't needed as vessels for that department as they were before. They had Tails and Knuckles to be vessels in which Sonic learned to grow. One common complaint I saw about the first movie was Sonic felt too kiddie in the first movie. And while I can understand, some people not liking that, Sonic is a kid, and I know people try to say, oh, well, he was a kid technically, and, in Black Knight and all the other goated Sonic games and stuff like that in terms of story. But the thing is, these are different versions of Sonic, and this version of Sonic has kind of been sheltered his whole life, and he didn't really have anyone else to be around. So he's kind of a recluse, and he's not calm, cool, and collected like the Sonic from different versions of the video game franchise. And I feel like what was going on in the story of this movie, these two movies, I felt perfectly fit the Sonic that we did end up getting. And I do feel in general, because he was more of a kid in the first movie, this movie was about growing up. That was a common theme for Sonic in this movie. And he really did have to grow up. That was something that he knew and he was told since the beginning of the movie, but nothing was going on in life in which that really gave him motivation to grow up. Of course he wanted to be a superhero, but he felt like he could be a superhero right now. So why does he have to grow up? And all that kind of thing made sense. But the thing is, meeting Knuckles and meeting Tails made him realize that he likes being a kid. but at the same time, he has to grow up, because growing up is the only way that he can ensure he can properly protect the people he cares about, you know? And before, he didn't have any reason to grow up any further. The main threat that he ever really had to go across, Eggman, was gone, and gone for almost a year. So who cares? What's the big deal? It's not like he has anything else to deal with, and until he came back, and came back badder than ever. So he really has to get himself together. And now that he has his own tribe with Knuckles and Tails, he realizes that he has to keep up. He has to be on the up and up. Of course, he has the motivational factor of being stronger physically, like Knuckles, but he also knows he has to be on the up and up and being able to work together as a leader, with Tails. As Tails was somebody who, while he was kind of watching from the sidelines of the first movie that this movie ended up actually saying, he served as a big inspiration. Sonic was an inspiration to Tails. He was the whole motivating factor of him, trying to get up in there. I love this arc that they're trying to do with Tails in these movies. It's perfectly of what I feel the games did do and then backstepped on, which I'm praying the movies don't do too. Tails was always somebody who was never very courageous, but being around Sonic and now being around Knuckles, they give him the strength he needs to face his adversaries, to protect what matters. And I feel that's a good arc for Tails. It's one we've already gone through in the games, but it's totally different in this movie universe. And again, it's done fantastically. And of course, they have this whole declining factions with, Sonic over here feeling like he failed Tails because Tails almost died on his watch, and he trusted him. Sonic was Tails' hero, and he really feel like he let him down. But in a way, that wasn't the case at all, because these things happen, and he tried his best. And I just love the dynamic these characters had. And Knuckles, let's talk about Knuckles. Knuckles was fantastic in this movie. Not only did Idris Elba just do a fantastic job as him, I think overall Knuckles was just written well. And he wasn't super dumb like he was in Sonic Boom, but he wasn't, just meathead either. He was the warrior archetype at the same time, but he has real values. He understands what makes people good and what makes people bad. Of course, he's also naive because he was able to fall for Eggman's little tricks and stuff like that. But at the same time, when push came to shove, Knuckles stepped up. He wanted to stop Eggman too, and he didn't just feel prideful and like, oh, I tried to kill you, so I'm just gonna go off on my own and be a recluse and try to stop him on his own. No, he went up with Tails and Sonic and got that crap done, dude. And I really, really like it. And honestly, I think one of the best parts of the movie was the ending. And not that part I'm thinking of. I'm saying the baseball scene. And I know that sounds like, really, that part was just so good because it showed them all kind of like a family, just friends, just hanging out. We got to see Tails and Knuckles in that same setting that Sonic is at. Of course, Sonic has his parents and stuff too, and him finally calling Tom dad was great. That sent me. I love that. But it really felt like, especially throughout this movie, Tom kind of feeling like a father figure. He really wished Sonic had homies, because again, he can't really fit in with other regular kids because he's a freaking hedgehog, a freak of nature, if you will. But it's still, and now that he ended up getting that with Knuckles and Tails, it makes me so glad they didn't wait till the third movie. It makes me so glad they didn't wait for the third freaking movie to introduce Knuckles. I'm so glad they didn't do that. It keeps the pace going. They properly introduced Knuckles, they properly introduced Tails, they interweaved and gave them a reason narratively in accordance to the story to be working together and working together here and in the future as well. I love that. I love that. I absolutely adore that. Jim Carrey also stole the show as Eggman. He did way better here than he did in the first movie. And like, again, if he's going to retire after this, then what a way to freaking end it on. Because, you say whatever you will about the movie itself, but Jim Carrey, he did a freaking fantastic job as Eggman, dude. He literally put his foot in every moment he was on screen. He was a delight to have on, and of course Agent Stone as well. They both did a fantastic job. Of course, there are other memorable moments from the movie too that we hadn't talked about yet either. Of course, let's just jump to the big stuff. freaking supersonic, dude. So the Master Emerald kind of, broke up into the individual Chaos Emeralds. And right as Sonic and his family are about to die, he's able to save them with the power of the Chaos Emeralds and becoming supersonic. Oh my gosh. And he's able to beat Eggman just overwhelmingly, showing that, like, I'm glad he didn't just plow through the robot and just end Eggman like that. I'm glad that didn't end up happening, but I'm glad he needed to show Eggman the overwhelming power that he had over him. Like just stopping this giant fist with just his bare hand, and destroying the arm while at it. It's just bravo. It was super well done. What else can I say about the moment? It was awesome. It was awesome. Same thing can be said about the post-credit scene. Yes, we're talking about it. Shadow the Hedgehog will be the main, I'm assuming, antagonist of the third movie. I mean, I can't say we didn't see it coming, I mean, they already announced the third movie was going to be coming, but I still think that it made the most sense. I mean, I know they could have introduced Metal Sonic, and it probably would make sense narratively, but I feel like if they're going to get rid of Eggman at this point, like, let's just say Jim Carrey doesn't reprise his role as Eggman for the upcoming movie, and they need to make a new motivating factor of Shadow to come after these people, then I feel they can always introduce somebody else, or what was it, Eggman's grandfather. They can always do they could do a bunch of different things without needing this Eggman in particular to be there. And I love that they went this direction instead of going Metal Sonic. I love Metal Sonic as well, just as much as the next guy, but I feel seeing Shadow on the big screen would hit harder. And I'm glad they did say it's not going to follow the games specifically from here on out, because what's the point of that? We have the games. I don't want the movie to be a retelling of the games. That's not what I'm going to these movies for. I want to not know what's going to happen, what to expect. The fact that they introduced Knuckles in the second movie just proves to me that they're willing to take their own creative liberties to just not make good video game movies, but just to make good freaking movies, man. And I'm glad about that. These aren't just the movie version of Sonic 2. Like, you'll get the plot of Sonic 2 just by watching this movie. No, I'm glad that's not the case. I'm telling you, I can't express enough how glad I am about that. There's so many things I feel, so many different ways, all the little different references. Like, of course, my little brother actually brought this up to me. There was a scene, I can't show anything in this video because of copyright, but there was this one scene in the movie. It was actually in a lot of the promo and stuff like that for the movie as well. Sonic's kind of goofing off. He's home alone and everything like that. He's riding a little skateboard in the house, and he has his hair spiked up. And my little brother told me, is that a reference to freaking Jet from Sonic Riders? And that blew my mind. It blew my freaking mind, because I'm like, wait a second. You're right. He had the spiky hair like Jet, because he's a bird, and he was riding a skateboard that's supposed to be like the extreme gear. Come on. It writes itself. That's just another reference that I thought was super freaking cool. Again, I'm not sure if that's the case, but I have every reason to believe it. Again, the coffee shop being called a Mean Bean, that was great. That was freaking great. I love that. The robot that he ended up creating after Eggman ended up absorbing the Master Emerald was great. Again, it looks like something just out of the game. However, I do gotta say, I do think the CGI in some moments did look a little goofy. It was mainly moments where Eggman was using some of his robots and stuff like that. It kind of seemed like, yeah, this is obviously CGI, but obviously it's CGI, so I'm not gonna harp on it too much, but just something I noticed as well. But again, this movie was absolutely filled from head to toe with tons of personality. It wasn't setting out to be a proper adaptation of the game Sonic 2. It just tried to be the best sequel a Sonic movie could have. And I think it achieved that. I honestly think it did. The fact that, of course, this movie has flaws, but I don't think the flaws that are in this movie take away from what this movie was trying to achieve. Like I said before, of course, there are some things that some people may not like, different lore implications that might have been tweaked and altered and stuff for the movie, mainly to do with the owls and the Echidna tribe. Some people might not like that kind of mix up, and it kind of seems like they're swapping stuff around and making stuff seem not as true to the games. But the thing is, this movie's not trying to do that, and in a way, I don't necessarily think, the whole the Echidna tribe being the protectors of the Master Emerald thing was really changed. In a way, the owls, from what it seems like to me, the echidnas still did play that role, but the owls didn't trust the echidnas to do that job. So that's what it seems like to me personally. Like, I guess it's more like they play the exact same role from the game, but they just added new depth to it with another cast, that being the owls. So they gave reason to already have Knuckles having some animosity towards Sonic, because in the grand scheme of things, Knuckles wants to protect the Master Emerald, same as the games. That's the exact same thing. And and whatever the echidnas did or didn't do back then don't matter, because they're not even here anymore, and as far as we know, the owls aren't here either. So it's like, at the end of the day, it doesn't really change much. However, I do think it's not that big a deal, because again, they still ended up playing the same roles. The owls just weren't there in the games. So adding them as added depth to what the echidnas did and what we already know they've done just adds more character development and overall, again, depth, to this arc of this branch of people. So that was just my spewing my thoughts about this movie. I just needed to get it out. I needed to vent it out. Honestly, if it didn't take me so long to set up making this video, then I probably would have been way crazier and way more incoherent than I already was. But I just kind of want to just spew out my thoughts. If you've seen this movie, let me know in the comments all your favorite parts, everything you hope for the next movie, and next few movies. Let me, all that kinds of stuff. Tell me your favorite parts, all that stuff. But again, if you love Sonic the Hedgehog, let me know by hitting the like button on this video and subscribing to the channel, so that way you can get more Sonic the Hedgehog goodness on the channel. But thank you all so much for watching. My name is KingdomAce. Remember, everybody, to play some games, have some fun, and enjoy your day today.